Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. I'm Gooey, joined as always by McKenna.
Hello.
And we're not talking about Nintendo 64 today. We're talking about another big cultural touchstone of the time period, which is Disney. I couldn't think of a better guest to have. We've got our pal, Nico. Hey, Nico.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us from the other room.
Oh, you're welcome. We're so far apart, and yet I feel so close.
So, Disney, it's like in many ways, both for better and for worse, you can kind of compare them a lot to Nintendo, I think. And in this time period, they were like probably they had to be like one of the most dominating cultural forces at the time, especially in, mainstream popular culture. So how could we not touch upon Disney? I don't know if there's a lot of N64 crossover with Disney. There was a lot of
there's definitely some crossover that you will see me back for. Mickey's Speedway USA.
Ooh, okay.
Can't forget that bad boy.
Here we go. This is why we have to have Nico on. Nico's the ex. So I mean, it's like all of us. It almost goes without saying. Like we all encountered Disney. I think almost I would be hard to find a kid at that time period who didn't love one of the movies from the time period.
Impossible.
But Nico, I know you're a massive Disney fan. You know all the lore.
I have fallen away from Disney in modern years.
That's fair.
And I in the past like 5 years or so. Basically, ever since I left California, I have been like, screw that place. But no, I do love fair. The Renaissance era of Disney a lot. Yeah.
That's for me, it's like some of the first movies I remember seeing are those. When they were coming out when I was, like very, very young. The first movie we were talking about came out right before I was born, actually, like 6 months before I was born. So like they were there ready to kind of, sink their teeth into me, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word.
Do you think when you were born, your parents held you up and said, "Look at this baby. Isn't it neat?"
Oh, I thought...
Wouldn't you think our children are complete? And then they never had another child?
I wished. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Michael. But no, they held me up like Simba. Actually, it was very glorious. Yeah.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so I don't know. How about McKenna? How about you? Like, you liked Disney as a kid?
Yeah. I watched the princess movies a lot.
Yeah,
they were in full rotation.
Yeah, that was right. They really like the princess branding got really big too. Like so much so, I think that speaks to kind of their like the domination of culture, and that like that's how I understood like what a princess was. You know what I mean? Like through like I didn't really understand what princesses really were. I guess I just were like they're pretty cartoon girls. Like, what were some of the early movies you got into as a kid?
If we're talking Disney Renaissance and my childhood, Beauty and the Beast. So I have an older sister. She's 4 years older than me. She's almost exactly your age, Goo.
Okay.
You guys are very close in age. Beauty and the Beast was her favorite, so therefore I had to watch it all the time. And I love Beauty and the Beast, and so that I think is because I watched it a lot. She also loved Aladdin because she thought Aladdin was hot. Fair. And so I don't know. Those two are the ones that I remember watching the most as a kid. They're not my two favorites, but they're just the ones that I watched the most. And there is like a sense of like comfort watching them because it's just like, oh yeah, like that is a Disney movie to me. And then if I see like Moana 7, the archipelago story, I'm like, I'm not interested in like whatever's coming out. I don't know. Live action Moana, I think, is coming out soon. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't care about that.
the magic's gone a little bit for sure.
It was different in the 90s.
It was, and it seems like they had some stuff more recently that kind of, they peaked again a little bit. But I feel like
for sure.
I don't know. It's getting too much into modern talk, but I feel like the era they're kind of in now feels like the straight to VHS sequel, but like made live action, and like it's their whole deal. Not like, hey, we're just doing this to get some extra money to like, like it's like they made the thing you do, like the kind of like shilly thing you do to capitalize on the success of one movie is now like their primary.
It's the main thing. It's the main thing they do now. Ugh. Granted, some of them turn out to be good.
Yeah, actually,
most of them don't. But some, like Frozen, the Frozen franchise, I'm actually a fan of. I think Frozen is phenomenal, and I actually like Frozen 2 more than I like Frozen. They're good.
I like Moana.
Actually good.
Moana's
cute. Fine.
Okay, Moana's fine.
I love Moana.
I cry.
Kenna loves it. I like it.
Cry.
You cried.
That was the last Disney princess movie I saw in theaters.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, I was I was like it was not the right time for me for sure.
No. Now, maybe to give a little background to our wonderful listeners about why maybe I'm a good person to have for this, and Moana is making me think of this. So I worked at Disneyland, big gasps all around, for 3 years, and Moana came out when I worked at Disneyland, and so I remember seeing it with a bunch of my like cast member friends from the park, and we liked it. It was fine, but my 3 years at Disney taught me a lot about the way, I don't know, they tell their stories, and I find that cool. Mm-hmm. They really focus on storytelling, and so that's something I've always valued in, especially the Renaissance era of Disney movies. Their storytelling is just, it's fun, it's gripping, the animation is cool. So I'm excited to talk about a couple of their films, their animated films today.
You also made me think of, I guess, one other way, in terms of like being a fan of Disney, like when I was a kid, I liked all these movies, pretty much all the like Renaissance movies. They all came out and I pretty much loved them. They were like my favorite movies, but I some of them I watched, like Mulan was my favorite. I watched that over and over. Yeah. I had the tape of that and I watched it over and over, but I never like got into Disney beyond just being a fan of those movies. Like I was into like, and it was probably because of what was coming on, like the channels I had, but I was into like the Looney Tunes and stuff like that, you know, or like watching, like in terms of older cartoons, like Tom and Jerry or something like that, when those would come on.
Totally.
And like, I don't think I ever like saw like Mickey cartoons or like Goofy cartoons or like the movies with them. I liked a Goofy movie. We talked about that a little bit the other day. Yes. I like that, but I was never into like the like original Disney character like universe.
Like the Fab Fives, like actual cartoons.
Yeah.
Right.
But you have shown me some in like the past few years that I was like, oh, this is really cool. I just, whatever it was, I didn't encounter it, so I never like was a fan on that level.
I grew up with like VHS collections of older Mickey Mouse cartoons, like Mickey and Friends. I remember one of them was called The Spirit of Mickey. All of my Disney fans out there know how good this VHS is. It's all the like most iconic.
They're going nuts
Mickey
right now.
Shorts. Oh, they're going wild right now. The Spirit of Mickey was like the coolest VHS because it had like The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia. It had Steamboat Willie. It had I don't even remember what it's called, but there's one where they're like in a camper.
Okay.
And the camper's going crazy on a mountain. It's fun. But it had like all my favorite cartoons, and I would just watch that over and over. If I wasn't watching movies, I would just watch those Mickey Mouse cartoons. So I was very like I was Disney pilled as a kid. That was me. I couldn't help it. I mean, I went to Disneyland when I was 4 years old, living in Idaho. My grandparents took our entire family on a family reunion to Disneyland in 1999, and that was like the coolest thing ever.
That probably solidifies it for a lot of people too. I can imagine, because I never went. You've been there, right?
Been to Disney World.
Disney World, yeah, which is the other. That's the other.
Yeah, the Florida one.
Gotcha.
The second one, the not original one. Oh yeah,
the big one.
Yeah, I never had the. I never had the occasion to go, I guess. So
maybe it's Six Flags, right?
It's Six Flags, yeah, and then we had our Looney Tunes there,
Exactly.
So I was. They were bribing me.
That makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah, I was Daffy head, big into Daffy. Plus, I've mentioned it before, but living near, like in Illinois, Space Jam, Michael Jordan phenomenon. So it was that was a big deal.
Was he from like Chicago or something? I'm kidding.
But yeah, let's talk about the Renaissance era, and we're gonna do this similar to other stuff where we want to do multiple episodes on this, and we'll kind of pair two of the movies together, as we go through kind of chronologically. And I guess before we talk about those movies, I guess it's worth pointing out that like this era is called that because for like the previous like 2 decades, right? They were kind of struggling financially. Like the films weren't doing as well. Though I would argue, like I've also seen like more creatively, but like I don't know, a lot of the movies from the pre-Renaissance era that I've seen, I think are pretty cool. Like I don't know if I've seen any. I haven't seen them all, but like I don't know if there's really any big stinkers. There's definitely some you can tell don't have like the budget that they gave to. Yeah. From Little Mermaid on, but I mean they made a lot of good movies in that time period.
They didn't have like the polish like pre-Renaissance. They lost the polish. So they lost Don Bluth, who was like, I think he was a lead animator. Was that? Yeah, longtime animator Don Bluth. He left and made his own like animation studio. And I think that's a big reason why they kind of lost their spark.
They had some like real competition, like at the time.
They actually had competition. Disney couldn't just like throw out whatever they wanted. Granted, they were putting out a movie at least once a year, like a fully animated film once a year, which is wild to think that they're doing that. Hand-drawn animation like that. But I mean, you go back and you watch like The Sword in the Stone is one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it's silly. I love Merlin. It's just a fun movie. You can see sketch lines all over that movie.
Oh, right.
Just watch it. You'll see notes written for half a second. You'll see
That's sick.
Like the full model, like standing next to the other guy. It's all over the place. It just wasn't polished. They didn't have the time. They didn't have the budget. They didn't have the people.
I saw like they would reuse animations
big
from other
time.
movies.
Yeah. What is it? I think it's Robin Hood reuses the like Snow White animation. They traced over the Snow White animation where she's like clapping and singing while all the dwarves are dancing around her.
Yes.
And like you've got that with Maid Marian, like clapping and dancing, and all the little like animals are jumping around her. It's the exact same animation. And they had to save money. They didn't have time to pay animators to create new scenes, so they just traced. Which I get it. I traced when I was a kid, so I mean,
yeah, but you weren't this cultural powerhouse. We expect more.
You should have seen me in Boise, Idaho. I was a cultural powerhouse. I'll tell you what.
Sorry, no offense to young Nico. Any of the. You seen many of the pre-Renaissance movies? We were kind of watching, stuff about them.
Not really. I haven't watched much. I've seen Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Yeah, most of the other
Which is a
ones we
great
didn't really
movie.
have.
Yeah, I had Fox and the Hound. I liked that one a lot. It was
Yeah,
sad.
Fox
I
and
think,
the Hound,
um,
yeah.
The movie that like super broke them, I believe, was The Black Cauldron.
Yes,
Which
I
looks
think that's the one that like
cool.
put the knife in their back.
which I think is their coolest looking movie
It's
of all
so
time.
sick.
I don't think I've seen it all the way through, but it's like one of the movies I most want to watch now.
I bet it whips. Like it's a thing too, where it's like at the time it probably they were kind of. It seemed like they were sort of in an arms race a little bit with Don Bluth, like to where he was like kind of pushing the envelope a little bit more, like darker tone stuff. So they were kind of going that route too, and then I think it probably broke them in that point because like when we were watching stuff about the making of Little Mermaid, they were like, we want to, this needs to be fun. Like the executives were like make it a fun movie. Basically, like they were pushing away from darker elements as much, and they wanted to be kind of have an upbeat tone more so. While I can see why it wasn't commercially as successful, I feel like what I see from the Black Cauldron looks really cool. We'll have to go back and watch it.
I was always afraid to watch it. It was always in like the trailers before the VHS movies that I would watch. I just remember being like, this is scary. There's a giant king with horns and the spooky hypnotizing pig. What's going on?
No, thank
I don't know
you.
what's happening in this movie. I was spooked. I was too spooked.
All right, so let's talk about the Renaissance itself. We got two movies we're talking about today. First one we're going to talk about is The Little Mermaid came out November 17th, 1989. And I have a mini flashback segment for us all here.
Ooh.
People were blasting on their way to see it. When I See You Smile by Bad English. Other things, this is very interesting because like we're in the start of this new era of Disney, and this time period from like 89 to whatever 92 or something is, a transitional period for the world, for the better. I don't know about that. But okay, speaking of, November, first dial-up internet connection was made in November of 1989. And also that's when the Berlin Wall fell. So we're doing that. We're listening to Bad English. We're going to see Little Mermaid. Our minds are expanding. It's the end of history. Everything's going to be A-okay. We have here, like we've done with some of our movie episodes, we got the back of the VHS box. So McKenna,
Oh yeah.
take us under the sea.
Somewhere under the sea and beyond your imagination lies an adventure and fantasy. Mermaids are supposed to stay under the sea, but there was never a mermaid quite like Ariel. The headstrong teenager longs to be part of the magical world on land, much to the dismay of her father, King Triton. When she falls in love with a human prince, Ariel looks to Ursula, a divinely diabolical sea witch, who makes Ariel human in exchange for her golden voice. With the help of her friends, Shy, Lovable Flounder, and Sebastian, a reggae-singing crab, Ariel must win her prince's love in a thrilling race against time. One of the most critically acclaimed films of the year, The Little Mermaid is full of dazzling animation, award-winning songs, and unforgettable new characters. This Disney masterpiece is a treasure to be enjoyed, now and for generations to come.
I love the gravitas of that.
I feel
last
like it's like a
statement.
requirement of these boxes to have some alliteration, because every box I've read has had at least one little like alliteration in
it pops.
somewhere. It's just
Always. That doesn't surprise me.
it's like somebody writes it and then an editor note, you didn't include alliteration, change it.
Come on, dummy. They probably had like a style guide or something. And one was alliteration. So, The Little Mermaid. How about, what's everyone's, Nico, if you want to go first, what's your personal connection to this movie?
Daddy, I love him. That's the only thing I think of when I think of this movie. That's all I can think of. No, if I'm being 100% honest, The Little Mermaid has always been the movie that growing up, I thought, oh, it's everyone's favorite Disney movie. Everyone loves Little Mermaid. And so little Nico decided, I don't like The Little Mermaid. Huh.
Oh.
But the funny thing is, I don't think I saw this until my adulthood. I'll be completely honest.
Okay.
I think the reason being my parents didn't want me to watch a movie with a girl who has shells on her boobies. I genuinely think my parents did not let me watch this movie because of that. So I think I maybe saw it for the first time like in high school or like after high school. And then I was like, oh, I really like this. That's actually a very good movie. I would play the computer game. I never played the NES game until very recently. Like I had Disney stuff that included The Little Mermaid, but I was not familiar with the movie itself. I listened to the music. I knew so much about it. But for some reason, as a child, I just never actually watched the movie. Which always was kind of like a weird thing that was like always so far away from me.
It's like both, it's the start of like the or at least at that point, what was going to become this modern renaissance. But like, it came out, like for me, it was like it came out before these other ones that came out after I was born, that by the time those came out, they were like massive. You know what I mean? Like Aladdin and Lion King kind of like, to me, like they had already taken over before this one was out. So like I had seen it and stuff, but it always felt like, and even though it was like not that old, like an older movie comparatively. And there's a couple reasons, like it does kind of like have a transitional, feeling to it. But sorry, what were you going to say, Nico?
Well, I think what's really interesting is this is one of the very few things you're ever going to talk about on this podcast that has come out before you were born. Because almost everything you guys talk about on this podcast is from like the mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
Almost. And so it's interesting to have a movie that actually was around when you were born. So that makes this kind of interesting because like you don't have a memory of it coming out. You don't have like you said, it was an old movie, even though it was within a year of you being born. But like once you were aware of film and animation and Disney, that was an old Disney movie too.
Yeah. Which when you're a kid,
which is kind of funny.
Like a year is like an eternity. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah, totally.
It also was probably like, because, not, this doesn't matter to me now, but at the time it'd been like, oh, that's a girl movie. You know what I mean? So
it's true.
Which, I mean, it kind of is, but like, that was a worry. They were worried, like, they didn't want to make it at first because they were like, only girls will like it. But I think it kind of transcended that. But there was definitely some of that as a kid, like,
yeah,
like when you're like treated like a young boy, raised as a young boy, it's like you can like some stuff like this, but like once you're getting into like school and stuff, like you get made fun of if you like even think about a mermaid.
That's very true. It is kind of funny because Disney sort of overcorrected after the first two princess movies of the Renaissance, and then they went full on like Aladdin, Lion King, boys movies.
It's about the boys, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I do like the movie. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
But it definitely was elusive to me as a kid. And maybe part of it was the idea that it was like a girl movie. I kind of feel silly saying now, but it was the 90s.
Yeah, we're all little kids, and we're, put into our sort of pre-described, this is how little boys should behave or whatever, So, McKenna, how about you?
I watched this. I mean, I think I watched all of the princess movies quite a bit as a kid. It was just like probably every weekend I watched one of them and rotated between them. I I remember there being a period of time where I wanted to watch The Little Mermaid, the second one, more than The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
And
the second one.
Yeah, I was like, I want to watch the sequel. I think maybe, I don't know if I related more to the idea of wanting to be a mermaid instead of a human.
Oh, that's what it's about. It's like
it's about her daughter,
isn't it?
Yeah, they like they build like a huge wall around the castle to keep her from going into the ocean.
Oh my goodness. They built the wall.
Yeah, and
it was produced
she
by
wants
Donald
to be,
Trump.
She wants to be a mermaid, so she goes and it's like a reverse.
Okay, so you were a fan of the franchise.
Yeah.
As a whole.
Yeah.
Okay, right on.
I think I also had I think I didn't super love that she doesn't talk for like half the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of her challenge, I guess.
Yeah. It's not as bad as Sleeping Beauty, where just for like no reason she stops talking.
Yeah.
And doesn't talk, like she's under a spell, but then like after that she never talks again.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely something
like,
of like
she's like
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that aspect to it. There's sort of a, now some of the like tropes or whatever from the storytelling of this time have, they've kind of done like, well, I guess apparently Frozen kind of does that sort of like, right, like a twist on like the gender like expectations of the characters and stuff like that kind of commentary.
Yeah.
They're both the movies we're going to talk about kind of have little elements of that, of like, in this one, well, I guess you could say like in this one, for example, Ariel, like her character arc it's pretty straightforward. Like she doesn't like really change too much in the movie, right? It's more of the king sort of storyline. But that being said,
honestly, yeah.
I do think she's a good character though, and like I do think like the story is really well told. But she's like, it's almost like she's the POV character, but she's not the one who like, she goes through a journey, but like in terms of like growing, changing, that sort of thing, it's obviously about the king like accepting like that his daughter wants to go and like live out
I don't
her
know.
life, right?
She does. There is one major part of her that changes. I don't know if you caught that part of the movie.
Right, yeah, physically, yeah. But I do actually kind of like that. Like, I feel like that probably is what makes the movie feel fresh. Like, now there's sort of a, you kind of look back on it and you kind of see, like, some aspects that's like, maybe they wouldn't portray it this way today, but, like, the idea of just having the character who she wants to, like, it's about her, like, wanting to go out and like see the world, and like she knows what she wants, and I imagine that's relatable too, feeling like, oh, I'm just like stuck here. I'd love to. You relate to this?
Yeah, I would.
You want to be where the people are.
Yeah.
But just like wanting to, she's in her room with all her Funko Pops or whatever, and she's like, I want to go like see the world, I want to go live my own life. And I feel like that does kind of, at least for the time, for the late 80s, I feel like that would feel like different in tone from some previous movies.
Well, a big time. I mean, it says it right on the box that McKenna read, that she's headstrong, and it's true. She knows exactly what she wants from the beginning of this movie. Right? She wants to be where the people are. She wants to be somewhere different. She wants to explore, but she's trapped being a little mermaid. The name of the movie. But so she doesn't have to go through the like growth and change of what she wants. That doesn't change. She has to go through the trials of what like the sacrifices she has to make to get to that end goal, which is interesting. And I do know actually a lot of this is the idea of like a very strong female main character was actually inspired by Miyazaki.
Oh, sure.
Because Disney saw Miyazaki as a competitor, which is funny because now Disney is the one that produces all of the English dubs in English-speaking countries for the Ghibli movies. So it makes sense they partnered with them, but they saw Miyazaki's strong female characters, which he's been doing since the beginning. They're always strong female characters, which is great. And Disney was kind of like, maybe we should do that. And their response was Ariel, which is an interesting response because it doesn't seem like she is. Because they literally silence her and take away her voice for more than half of the movie. But that doesn't stop her from getting what she wants and, having her happy ending. So overall, she's a strong character, headstrong, willing to go through these trials and hardships and like make sacrifices. It is just kind of a weird way of telling the story.
I do like that though. Like her voice is like, it's kind of like her, like in terms of like it's like one of her most like great attributes. That's like what makes the part of that story like kind of a challenge. Is like it's not like she was silenced and then like that was like improved her life. You know what I mean? I like that was sort of
that's
like,
true.
That
would be a different story.
That's what first like kind of attracts the prince to her, or like what it's something he's like longing for is like that voice, and so then it becomes
that does make Ursula's point as the villain very villainous, is that she's like, well, I'll take away your voice, but don't worry, you have your looks, your pretty face, your body language. And it's like, yeah, no, that's not good. She should be able to talk. So I guess that's a good reason why Ursula would be the villain. But yeah, I don't know.
Both movies have this sort of thing of like it's more than just the beauty on the outside, right? It's the beauty on the inside.
And the beast on the outside.
McKenna, you said you watched the sequel a lot, so like you don't have any, in terms of this movie, like any strong like memories of this one in particular, or was there anything that you liked about it this time around that stuck out to you?
I guess I hadn't watched it in a while, and I just like watching the animation. I just saw the hand drawn animation was really nice.
It's very cool.
They do a lot of nice stuff digitally now, but the hand drawn stuff just looks really nice. It's very colorful.
Yeah, the animation's very cool. This was this is what makes it kind of also gives it a slightly different feel, although it feels very modern compared to the previous ones in a lot of way. But it is the only Renaissance movie that uses that. It's the xerography, I think it was called, where they would basically be able to copy, like using xerography, like the cells onto animation, onto the frames or whatever. But it also is the last Disney movie to have the cells themselves hand painted, starting with the Rescuers Down Under. That was all done like in computers, so all the like actual coloring and stuff is done digitally, which I think is, to me, when I was a kid, what made like the other ones pop even more, is because it's like it was sort of like this thing that I couldn't understand as a kid, but it looked newer, you know what I mean? So that's why I think I liked it.
Can you believe that the ink and paint team were like the lowest paid on the animation team, because all they had to do was fill in color? I'm like, that's crazy. Are you kidding me?
No kidding.
Do you know how hard that must have been? And it is, of course, I mean, traditionally, we all have our problems with the Walt Disney Company. I know we all do. They were all women. The entire ink and paint department was always women, and they were paid less. And it's partially because that was like their excuse. They're like, oh, well, they're women. We don't have to pay them as much. Therefore, they'll just do the coloring for us. And I'm like, listen, that's half the movie right there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no kidding.
Kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, that's obviously such a crucial part of it. I don't know. I mean, I kind of like, when you look, I was looking at footage of the rescuers down under, and I was like, this actually looks dope though. So I feel like, I mean, I do like the hand painted look, yeah. But I feel like the digital, like, it was a good era. Like, that's something I like about this era. We'll talk about it, especially more so with Beauty and the Beast, but like something I like from kind of the mid 90s video game, especially a lot of PS1 games, I feel like had this aesthetic of like combining like the 2D, or in this case the hand animation, with like the computer generated stuff. Like, I feel like this was a great era of like experimentation, while also like kind of having some of those like classic elements still there. And I love that fusion of stuff. I love seeing the mix.
If we want to talk about fusion, what inspired the beginning of the Disney Renaissance was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And if we're talking about fusing animation and 3D, that's the epitome of it right there. Yeah. That is just a ridiculous film. I still do not understand how they managed to make that movie in, what was it, like 88 or something?
Yeah, I think it was around the same time that this came out.
But
so, like,
that's just right wild. Before, yeah. That movie is ridiculously cool.
And it's cool because it's just, well, this is something you pointed out when we were watching McKenna, some of the behind the scenes stuff, but it's like, and this is the case, it's also similar if you take a game like Final Fantasy VII or Symphony of the Night, where like you had some of these people who have been working in the industry for a long time, who are like at the top of their game, but you also have like these new people coming in who will go on to like define the era. And that's something I think you pointed out, like they took they did take on a lot of like new talented people. Did some like, you know, take some chances.
Yeah, they appreciated fresh take on things. They didn't say entry level with 10 years of experience. They said They said, you're new, come on, let's see what new ideas you have.
And it seems like they let them explore those ideas. It also seemed like in this time they did exercise, like it seems like the executives maybe did exercise like a little bit more like creative control. Like it seemed like they were kind of like really worried, you know. They actually, I think, spent way more on this movie than like previous movies, and I think they were nervous like about how it would go, especially but I think I don't want to give them too much credit, though, to be honest. I think it was the people who worked on the movie who like fought for the things they believed in that really made the movie what it is. That was one of the things we were watching, a behind the scenes documentary, and they were like talking about what were their names, like the guys running the company, and how they were like geniuses. And I'm like, it just seems like they gave really talented people a lot of money to make something, but that's just me.
The Disney company is really interesting because they will always boast about how great their leadership is, and they'll like credit like the CEO or the like head of a department that sits in boardrooms all day as like the reason something is good. And I'm like, no, it's the creative people that are making it. Yeah. They're the reason why it's good.
And I think it showed after what happened, like Don Bluth kind of like giving a run for their money. It does. I feel like it does kind of show like, hey, you should like try to keep and foster these really talented people you have. So maybe give them some credit. I feel like they maybe learned from that a little bit, but I don't know. I wasn't at the meetings, so
they're better at it nowadays. Early 2000s was still a mess for that type of situation. If you're interested, look up the history of the California Adventure Park at Disneyland.
Oh, okay.
A mess. And it's all they blame it all on the leadership of Disney, and that's when it was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't focus so hard on them. Let's talk about something else.
Well, that also does feel like the era too, where they began like, let's really start cooking with these these direct to VHS sequels. Let's start, taking the. Well, now it feels like they're taking the copper out of the house, but then it was like they were just cutting down the drywall to get access to it or something. I don't know what the metaphor is here, but the big
Either
thing...
way, it's a great metaphor.
Yeah.
The taking down the drywall of the House of Mouse, as it's so called.
So the big thing about all these movies, that all these ones we're going to talk about in this series have in common, I think the most, is like the musical aspect of them. I think that I think that's like a massive... I mean, a lot of things we talk about, the animation, the story, and everything are all a big part of their success, but I think the musical aspect of it might be the biggest factor in this. I think that, like, if The Little Mermaid was kind of the same movie, but without the songs, like, it would probably be a really nice movie, but I think that's what made it a blockbuster, you know what I mean?
And I mean, Disney movies had always had music.
Oh, sure.
But they decided to change up the style. They got Broadway writers. They wanted to make it into Broadway style. You know, it wasn't just like I think of like Sleeping Beauty, right? She's Briar Rose as she's walking through the forest. And I know it's like pretty ballads. It's like whatever. It wasn't showy. It wasn't fun. It wasn't like. It was interesting. It was very well done. It was very pretty. But then you go to Little Mermaid and you get freaking Alan Menken from Little Shop of Horrors, and it's like, oh, hey, we're gonna have you write Broadway style music for the next Disney movie. And it's like big, and they hit hard with what's his name? The lyricist.
Howard Ashman,
yes. Wild stuff that they came up with. Yeah,
they were, and that, I think the Little Shop of Horrors, like the tone of that makes sense, like for this sort of thing. Like these movies are a little irreverent, I guess, not quite as
a little tongue in cheek.
But...
Yeah,
probably why I watched them so much.
Yeah, see,
you know, I'd be listening to the music on its own too.
Yeah, you get the like. They put out like CDs and stuff.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
Tapes.
Tapes. Yeah. Actually, I think I had.
We had a Little Mermaid tape. I remember.
Yeah.
The Lion King tape was really great. Mm-hmm.
It's hard. Well, one thing I liked musically, I kind of liked how the movie opened with sort of this, like the show they were putting on with the sisters, like felt very much more like old timey, like Hollywood or like theatrical performance, and it's a little like, it feels a little stuffy, you know what I mean? And
it's very proper,
and it kind of like shows like, it's like, okay, yeah, I can see like it's kind of like meta in a way. I think it speaks to like the film itself, because then we get into like there's freaking like reggae singing crab. Is that what the VHS box said?
It sure is.
That's his defining feature.
Well, he's really the star.
I mean, he's the one who puts on the song at the beginning.
He's great. He's the. What is his title? He has a title in the kingdom. Was it minstrel? I think it's minstrel.
Oh God, I don't
the royal
like that.
Minstrel or something like that.
I don't like that.
What
That's
was it?
Sebastian the Crab. I don't. Yeah, he's really like the star, because I mean, Under the Sea obviously is such a banger.
Yeah. He's kind of not the voice of Ariel, but when she can't talk anymore, he is like becomes that side of the story.
He's like her Navi, you know. He's a little companion.
Yeah,
which is hilarious, because like before she gets turned, he's all like, "Oh, I gotta report to the king," and
yeah, he's kind of a dork, but
he's so scared of the king too.
I like that he sort of like sees how much this all means to Ariel, and he's like sort of on her side a little bit too. It's very sweet. I like the crew. I mean, actually, I don't like Flounder. I think Flounder. Wait, do you guys like Flounder?
He's like
I've never understood him as a character, if I'm being completely honest.
It's like we already got one companion, and you're just kind of like doing nothing for me, buddy.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Moana animals. Like, there's the
they made fun of that in
pig
Moana.
that they like.
There's Pua, the pig, yeah,
that
and Hey, the chicken.
I think he was featured in the trailers, so everyone thought he was going to be the big animal companion, and then suddenly it's just this goofy.
And then he's not even on the boat.
Yeah, this is this stupid chicken.
Freaking hey. Well, it's the same thing that they did with Frozen. Like all the Frozen trailers were just like Sven the reindeer and Olaf the snowman playing on the ice together, and people were like, "What is this movie? Like, what is this gonna be?" And then it's not about them.
Odds I was gonna see Frozen were probably pretty low, but when I started seeing this freaking snowman guy, I was like, I'm definitely not seeing this movie. But again, like the odds I was gonna see it already were pretty low. But Sebastian, he sings Under the Sea. We talked about it, and that's I think the Little Shop of Horror thing makes me think of, there is some funny stuff in the song where he's like talking about the different animals playing the different fish, playing different music or whatever. I can't do it justice, but it's very funny. Like, it's very cute.
So the writing in Under the Sea is phenomenal. It's so creative. It's so fun. And I said this when we were watching the movie together. I mentioned this, but working at Disneyland, there are shows all over the place, right? There's like shows happening like in the lands. There's like nighttime shows. There's fireworks. Under the Sea is used in every single show that Disney does in the parks, like without fail. It won't fit into the theme at all. And they're going to be like, how do we get Under the Sea into this show? It's just, it's a good song. And rightfully so. I mean, it was like I'd say it was the big hit from this movie.
For sure.
So
you have an alternative?
Besides Part of Your World.
I was just going to say I had like one of those jewelry music box things where you can let you wind it up, and then when you open it, it's got like a little dancer that spins, and I had a Little Mermaid one, so Ariel was like Ariel spinning around, but it was Under the Sea that the played.
It's just one of the great all-time
and like
melodies.
I think I had like two like jewelry music boxes like that, and I didn't really use them for jewelry. I would just occasionally go wind it up and listen to the music.
I remember my sister having a musical jewelry box of Ariel that had Under the Sea. I wonder if it was the same one, because she would spin, and it was like the moment in the movie during Under the Sea where there's like, I think a bunch of little fish swim around her, and it makes her hair like swirl up. And it was like that moment, but like in a little jewelry box. It was very cute.
When you mentioned part of their world, that's what it's called?
Part of your world.
That had me thinking about, we were talking about some aspects of the story. The people, like people talk about this. The movie takes place over the course of like what, a day or something, and it's like
it's
they fall
2 days or something. Yeah,
I think the songs Part of Your World and Kiss the Girl really, I think, get this idea of cross of that, like all of the emotion is conveyed, like obviously in some of those scenes, but the songs really, it's greater than like the logic of like the like
totally
knowing someone for a day. It's like this passionate creative expression of love, that like, granted it's it's for kids or whatever, but I think like I think that it really conveys that, and it gets those things across, that it's like, even though sure, Prince Eric met her a day ago and now he's gonna ditch her for this other girl or whatever, it's like it's a magical story, he's under a spell, there's magic, we're falling in love through music. Like
if the most unrealistic thing in the movie to you is the fact that he falls in love in 2 days, like there's some other weird stuff happening. You mentioned Prince Eric, and like we have not talked about him in like at all. He is kind of uninteresting.
Yeah.
He's like fine.
He is far from the point of, you know what I mean? Like
he's not. No, yeah, he's not the point. But he does have his own little journey, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be this fancy prince at the beginning of the movie. You know, they unveil this big statue, and
I love the
Grimsby's
statue.
like, he's like, isn't it so wonderful? And he's like, Grimsby, I don't even want it.
I'm so embarrassed.
So embarrassing, Grimsby. Oh.
Yeah, it's relatable.
And then at the end of the movie, he's getting married on this giant, beautiful ship.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, do you want to be a prince or not? Like, obviously he accepts it, but I don't really understand his character, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's just like, I think that's in one way that I don't want to say it's like subversive, but that it's like a different take or like different formulas. He's not like Prince Charming. Like he's not going to save her.
It is a step up. It is a step up from Snow White, Cinderella, kind of. I don't know. I think Prince Charming is maybe more interesting. The Snow White's prince and Sleeping Beauty's prince, have zero depth. So it is a step up from that, and it gets better as we go on through princess films. But and
again, I think
Eric is like fine.
He does have like one of the coolest moments in the movie.
What's that?
Which is driving, steering the ship into giant Ursula.
Oh yeah,
he does kill Ursula. That is pretty cool.
And we got to talk about Ursula, but I want to say just the final thing about that is that while it is like all of them kind of like both the movies we're talking about is like the ending is like, okay, she falls in love and like that's the end. Like the point of the story is not that, you know what I mean? That is just sort of a consequence of what happens, but that's not really what it's about. So I think that maybe that's kind of good, right? I don't know. But Ursula, let's talk about Ursula, because that's, I mean, I think that's like the standout character actually. Just in terms of like the most, well, we said Sebastian the Crab, but then I think she really takes the cake of being like the character who's having the most fun, right?
Oh, yeah. She's having a blast.
What was the actress who played her? Joan, was it? I feel bad now.
No, Pat Carroll is the one who actually voiced Ursula.
Okay.
But Alan Menken and Howard Ashman wanted it to be Joan Collins.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay. And yes. She's partially inspired by Divine.
Divine, we love Divine, yes. The drag queen. She
was kind of basing her on like an old, like, sort of like slightly washed, Hollywood, like of yesteryear kind of performer. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where like you just see all the like creative juices, all the inspiration come together. Like that's what's cool about it as like a collaborative process, was you had all that, and then as well as the animator, like, you can watch those videos where you see them doing this, and you just see everyone like having it, like these 5 different people having this creative spark to bring like this one character to life. It blows me away.
She has a great song.
Yes,
she has a great song, and it creates a precedent for the rest of the Disney Renaissance for villains to have cool songs.
Yeah,
true.
I love the villain
most
songs.
of the time.
Yeah,
most of the time.
In the next few movies,
not all villains get songs.
You do see like these songs all have like archetypes. Like you can compare them in other movies. Like it's like a formula similar to how like we all the time will compare things across Zelda games. It's because like, oh, this game's got like this and this and this. You sort of see like, oh, that's the villain song. This is the sort of call to action song. This is the, but yeah, hers is kind of like, this is sort of like the goalpost, like from here on out, like the movies.
Totally.
Gotta hit that.
It's so good, and it's very Broadway. It's like the speak singing, and she like there's so much storytelling in this one song. Like, so much happens in this song. This is the belly of the whale, right? Like, this is where it's like, oh crap, everything's changing. And it all happens in the course of this one weird song.
So I mean, like,
it's so
most,
good.
I feel like most of the important things in these movies actually, like, there's a big battle in the end or whatever. That's cool animation, but the most important things to the story, like, really do happen in the songs.
Which, by the way, talking about music in the big battle, although there is no singing happening, while Ursula is getting attacked, you hear dun 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 dun, which is Poor Unfortunate Souls, and like this big band, scary storms in the background. And when she gets hit and she gets killed, do you know what you hear? You hear, the musical storytelling is so good.
Yes.
It's so good. The motifs that they actually throw in, and they're so simple. They're just like one little bar of music that they throw around in the movie. It works so well. They're very smart with that.
They're strong with the motifs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that whole big battle, it does actually, like, that section is one that, like, even though I hadn't seen it as a long time, there are certain things from this movie that, even though it wasn't even like my favorite or anything as a kid, like, just certain things of animation that I hadn't seen before kind of stuck with me. I even think of just like the look of like the way King Trident thing lights up and stuff, like, always kind of like, you know, it's just one of those things where you see it and it's like, I can't even quite describe the feeling, but like, it just like created a memory for me there of like seeing something like that I hadn't seen before. And it really like, it really filled me with wonder as a kid, you know. Two Academy Awards for Best Score and Best Original Song, Under the Sea. So
Under the Sea, yeah. I was gonna say, it's gotta be.
And you mentioned, like, did they adapt this one? I feel like all these movies got like Broadway adaptations.
The Renaissance, almost all of them have become Broadway musicals. This one was very good. The Broadway version of this went through some changes. They actually like talk about Ursula and King Triton being brother and sister. They added in some extra songs for like Flotsam and Jetsam, and like Ursula got another song, which is I think better than Poor Unfortunate Souls.
Wow.
And it's good. Scuttle gets his song that was cut from the movie.
Scuttle,
I believe it was cut from the movie, and then they like
Scuttle has
wrote
a
it
song.
into the Broadway show.
He does have a song. I like his song. Yeah, that's like one thing, like with these, it's like they made so many great movies, but they also do at the same time. I mean, it worked for them for a while, where it's like they do have like this formula to them, where it's like, okay, it's got to be like a Broadway musical, so we can adapt it there. It's gotta, after this, I guess this movie doesn't have it, but it's like we got to do a remix of one of the songs with a famous pop star, so we can like get it on the radio, you know what I like, and have a big hit that way. They still do that now, I think, too.
They do.
And it's like, I mean, it did create a lot of bangers, though. We can't be too mad that we got like a Celine Dion song in the next movie or anything, but
yeah.
Let's see. I have just some final little bits. I like Ursula's nasty little guys that she's got. The people,
yeah, they're great.
Oh, I meant like all the
little dudes.
Actually,
the little Bloodborne dudes.
The Bloodborne dudes, they're nasty. Yeah,
they are gross. I love
souls.
them.
Flotsam and Jetsam were cool too. Sorry, what were you going to say?
When King Triton turns into one of the little dudes.
Oh, horrible!
He looks so. With his little mustache, he looks so sad.
I was trying to think of. There's all this inspiration from different things we talked about. You know, the different like actors and eras of film and then obviously, I guess it goes without saying, it's inspired by a classic fairy tale. I feel like we buried the lead there a little bit. Like that's,
I guess so.
That was kind of a thing Disney was known for doing. But I always like I don't know what the. I feel like there has to be something behind like the deal with Flotsam and Jetsam. Like they have a gimmick sort of thing with their eyes, right? Like,
I
is
think
that based
they're
on
meant
something?
to. I don't know. They're meant to just be like Ursula's eyes.
Okay.
And like she can see through those two eyes. Each of them have one.
I thought there might be some kind of like, you know, like old myth.
It might be.
Who knows?
I don't know.
I
mean, because this is a Hans Christian Andersen.
Yes.
It is old, screwed up fairy tales.
Yeah.
Good thing they took this part out. They every step that she took was like knives digging into her feet in the original story. So it's good that didn't happen in the Disney movie.
That's hard though.
Yeah.
That kind of rocks. Like just from
it is pretty hardcore. But she dealt with it to be with her prince.
Where was he from? We were trying to figure out where this movie like took place, but it kind of had a mix of styles.
He's from
well, Hans Christian Andersen is like
Denmark. Denmark. Yeah, I think
we didn't come with all the facts today. Okay.
I don't think the setting of the movie is like in any established.
No, I don't think
thing.
so.
I think it's just like a generic.
Sometimes there's clues, you know, like in the movies, like based on where the story's from.
He was born in Denmark.
Okay, but this was like in the Caribbean, right? It felt like a Spanish sort of like colony or something in the Caribbean, you know?
Well, I mean, Sebastian's a Jamaican crab.
Yeah.
So
but he's the only one
that
who's
far from Jamaica. But I guess, it's not in the Caribbean because he's the only Jamaican crab. I don't know where this is supposed to take. Well, it takes place in Atlantica. That's King Triton's kingdom is Atlantica underwater, but I don't know where that's supposed to be.
Where does Aquaman take place?
It's like the same.
Where is that?
That's a whole new era for mermaids, but we don't have time for that.
She's got some good fits.
Good fits.
Great fits.
I like when it changes from there being like two, before this there's like two princess outfits. There's like the one they wear for most of the movie, and then there's the one they wear at this special moment in the movie.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, she's got her sail fresh out of the sea sail rope outfit.
Sure.
Yeah.
That pink dress that's like a amalgamation of the original three, a mix of those, the Snow White, the Cinderella, and the Aurora dress.
Mm-hmm.
There's that blue dress she wears when they go out. And then there's the wedding dress and the best dress, which they only show for a few seconds, which is the sparkly ocean dress.
I like sparkly.
Made out of
dress.
the mist of the sea. Yeah.
It
is a beautiful dress, and you see it for like 2 seconds, and I love it. And then it's gone.
Yeah, what the hell? Maybe it's too sparkly. They had to get it out of there.
Yeah, she has some iconic looks.
This is quite a diverse set of fits.
That is cool.
It is. That's like another thing that makes me feel like it's not in like it's not supposed to be in one specific place, is that all these dresses are like different eras. It's supposed to be like a place out of time.
Yeah, oh for sure. Yeah, it's like it feels like it's in a lot of ways, I was thinking like in the beginning, it's calling back to like older stuff while like being like we're gonna be modern too at the same time, as modern as we can be with like wooden ships and things like that.
I was looking at some of the outfits, and specifically her wedding dress reminds me of like a lot of the 80s wedding dresses with like the poofy sleeves. I was like, this kind of looks like my mom's wedding dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's another way, like, it's, like, slightly 80s still, I mean, 89 it comes out, so, like, that might have
or,
been
like,
why it felt old,
Princess
too.
Diana's dress.
Right, okay, so, yeah. Style icon, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Nico, you mentioned earlier, speaking of her style, you thought your parents didn't want you to watch it, because she's, like, in a bikini, but, like, that's not even, like the most horny thing in the movie, which I found watching both these movies. I was like, there's a lot of like horniness in these movies.
I mean, Nintendo is famous, especially for this era, for have like weird sex things. That were, like,
that's sort of like a meme,
hidden.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been. I mean, there's the classic, the dick on the front of the Little Mermaid box art on the old VHS, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like in the castle. And there's just like weird stuff in these movies that Disney has had to edit out because the animators were sneaky and decided to just put in these creepy little weird horny things.
It's like really overt in Hunchback of Notre Dame, where it's just this, really horny Frollo.
Oh yeah,
but I mean,
or that's just like part of the movie.
Yeah,
that registered to me as a child.
Yeah, I just remember watching as a kid, and like there's a scene where Ariel's like kind of nude or whatever, and then there's the buff king, and like Ursula is kind of when you said earlier, Nico, body language, it's
she's
like, whoa,
she's
the way she turns around right there. And she's like moving her hands like down her hips and swinging her like butt back and forth. It's like, okay, this is a children's movie.
Yeah.
Okay, Ursula.
I briefly wanted to shout out too. You mentioned you played the computer game. We also played a little bit of the NES game, which was cool. Yeah, I was like really surprised. Capcom made that, and I think they did a great job on it. We also watched a little bit of like a Genesis game, which seemed not as well.
Looked bad.
It looked bad.
I'll be real.
To be fair, I didn't play
NES
it.
Game, it looked great. The pixel artwork was really good. The music was fun, and the gameplay was actually really good.
Yeah, it had like unique sort of gameplay, like
and it's like a continuation of the story where she like goes back to be a mermaid for a little bit. Because Ursula came back or something like that.
It's a video game, like you're just shooting bubbles. I like that mechanic. I could see that. They should bring that one back, I think. Could be cool. Little Mermaid was like a big blockbuster for them, and it was the start of the Renaissance. It was it became, at the time, it was the 6th highest grossing movie of 1989. I think now it's like the 9th or something. The weekend it opened, it was the 3rd highest grossing movie, behind Look Who's Talking, and Harlem Nights was the number 1 movie.
Interesting. Okay.
The main thing I wanted to point out was the 5th highest grossing that weekend was All Dogs Go to Heaven, which was like that was the Bluth joint.
That's the Bluth movie.
We're now starting to see, this is just one weekend, but we're seeing, the balance turn. Actually, I don't know when All Dogs came out either, so it could have been out for a while, but point being, I liked All Dogs Go to Heaven, actually, but I think
they came out on the same day.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was another Disney, like, we're gonna...
Yeah.
They were talking about how
Disney
they like release things, even re-release movies on the same day as like some of the Don Bluth movies came out.
That's such an asshole move, Disney. Come on.
This holiday season, share the wonder and magic of a very special entertainment event. A fantastic adventure above the waves and under the sea.
Under the sea! Under the sea!
Beauty and the Beast from November 22nd, 1991. Number 1 song when you're driving to the theater to see this would have been When a Man Loves a Woman by Michael Bolton.
No.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
That's really funny.
Actually, I had a lot that happened in this time period.
That's kind of wild because for me, when I almost said Troy Bolton, when I think of Michael Bolton, I think of Hercules because he has his cover of Go the Distance, and I used to listen to that as a kid so much. So I don't know, Beauty and the Beast and Michael Bolton, same time.
Michael Bolton is a major cinephile, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Just look up Captain Jack Sparrow.
Oh gosh, no. I've seen that. No.
Also, okay,
right.
so gonna bring it down a little bit, but it actually has some connection a little bit to the movie. The same month this came out, actually, Freddie Mercury passed away from Queen, of course.
Yeah.
And actually, at the same time they were making this, they had Menken and Ashman back, and Ashman was also he died of AIDS, and he was actually they had to like restructure a lot of the making of this movie around him because he was such a big part of it. And so I mean that's really the only connection. They died from like same cause, but it's another like snapshot of the time of like,
big time.
There's like, I don't know. I don't know. This is just it's sort of a tangent, but thinking back of this time period where people talk about it was such like it's like, oh, it was like an optimistic time, but it really like, I feel like there was a lot of like pain, like struggle, like going on at the time. Like it's easy for some people to say, but like, man, it was like really tough. Like a lot of people had to fight in this era for, their rights, I guess you could say. So
yeah. And that I do remember watching some like mini documentaries about Beauty and the Beast and how Howard Ashman's death like rocked the production. Like it halted everything. And that made a big impact.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the music is like the biggest like contributing thing to these movies. Like, granted, all the other amazing things that are in it, but like, yeah, that was I could see like that would be really tough. And obviously, like, it seemed like a lot of people loved him, and he seemed like a cool dude.
Well, yeah, I mean, he had already written stuff for like Aladdin at that point.
Oh,
too.
really? Wow.
Yeah, because he did. I don't remember what he wrote in Aladdin, and he didn't do anything for Lion King, because that's Elton John and Tim Rice.
Is that it? Yeah, you might. Well,
those are names that I connect with that movie, but
yeah, some legends.
But no, like he still like Howard Ashman still did stuff for like Aladdin and stuff, which is crazy to think. But yeah.
Your gaming options at the time would have been really good too. I wanted to throw these out. This was a hot time. November, what was it, 92 we said? Yeah, 91. November 91, you had Metroid 2 Return of Samus for Game Boy.
Oh, baby.
Another World, which was at first an Amiga game, but that was like that's one of the most famous cinematic platformers, as they call it. November 21st, in Japan, A Link to the Past was released. And
okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of that one. And then SNK Fatal Fury King of Fighters for the Neo Geo. You see a lot of different groundbreaking type genres here exploding. So I think it was a hot time. It was a hot time for gaming. But let's talk about the movie. We've delayed it too long. McKenna, hit us with the back of the box.
A modern movie masterpiece, Disney's Beauty and the Beast waltzed away with 6 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, the first ever for an animated movie. Along with winning the prestigious Best Picture Golden Globe Award, it now ranks among history's most highly acclaimed cinematic achievements. When the film's beautiful, book-loving heroine, Belle, sings the first of an unprecedented 3 Oscar-nominated songs, you too will fall instantly under its spell. However, it is the spell of an enchantress that opens this classic fairy tale, turning a cruel prince into a hideous beast. His stubborn pride compels him to remain in his bewitched castle, inhabited by Lumiere, the love-struck Candelabra, Cogsworth, the pompous clock, the kindly Mrs. Potts, and an inquisitive little teacup named Chip. To break the spell, the beast must win Belle's love before the last petal falls from an enchanted rose. With a colorful cast of endearing Disney characters, Beauty and the Beast will enthrall both young and old, forever reminding us that true beauty comes from within.
Beauty and the Beast. This one was more so, yeah, for me, like a bigger one. I mean, yeah, this, Nico, you said this was what you and your sister would
Oh, yeah.
watch all the time. Yeah.
It's so funny. They really love to point out that there are characters in these movies on the back of the box, don't they?
Yeah.
They're like, there's Disney characters in this movie.
We've got them.
This one is like even more so an ensemble movie. Like there's side characters.
Oh,
We talked
yeah.
about some side characters in Little Mermaid. We didn't even talk about, Renee Auberjonois' chef who's trying to cook Sebastian or whatever. But this movie,
You got the little horse, not horseshoe,
oh,
seahorse.
oh,
dude.
I love that little guy.
He's got the little voice like this.
Oh, I love him. But this movie goes even more so all out. I feel like
Hardcore, yeah.
because you've got your people in the town, you've got the people like all the castle and all the weird inanimate objects they are. Of course, our main cast, it's chock to the brim with characters who all even though some of them only
personalities.
have little parts, they're like big personalities. It was a big one for me, and I think the description said all the things that I would want to talk about. But that was a big deal that it was nominated for Best Pictures, like the first animated film, as it says, and it won all these awards. Especially, of course, it's going to get the song. Should we? I guess, as we said, the music is the most important thing, so maybe we should talk about the songs. What's everyone's favorite song from the movie?
Oh, that's actually a really hard choice for me.
Maybe it's a little basic, but I'll say I just like the coolest. I think the coolest sequence in the movie is the whole "Be Our Guest" sequence with all the. It gets a little abstract. All the dishes come out and the plates rolling across the screen, and just the
That's
big.
It's Cool Here, Stay song of this movie.
Yeah.
I would say "Be Our Guest" is probably my favorite, but they do so many songs that are just little moments that I think are really sweet. Something there where they're singing, the Beauty and the Beast are singing kind of back and forth about each other. I think that's a really cute song. And then of course Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Potts singing Beauty and the Beast just destroys me. It's so beautiful and I love it.
You like the song where they're singing in their. I like that scene because they're singing in their heads.
Yeah.
You don't see that often.
I do like that one a lot. It's probably one of the ones that I will just catch myself singing the most often. But it's fun because there is a callback to the first song in the movie and something there. There's that one bit. I think in the first song she's singing. It's when she's singing about the book she's reading.
Yeah.
And she mentions Prince Charming. And then she mentions Prince Charming again in this, where she's saying,
"Right,
Beast is no Prince Charming."
Right, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's the line new and a bit alarming.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yes.
it's kind of cute. Yeah. It again using the motifs from previous songs to really drive home the point of what the song is about is really nice. I mean, and these creative people knew what they were doing.
I did. Sorry, go ahead, McKenna.
I'm now gonna mention two other. We're gonna just talk about the whole thing here, but
That's fine. Do it.
the villain song, Gaston and LeFou.
Well, he has two songs, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
he gets
it is
two.
two. It's the second one is kind of a full, because it starts with it's him, and then it's the village as a mob, and then it switches to the characters at the castle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's true. It's
which
a full ensemble
It's really,
song.
Yeah, that's
it's really
fair.
cool.
Well, I think it's called the Mob Song, isn't it? So I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. But he does get Gaston, which is the funniest villain song.
Yeah.
That's that's probably my favorite villain kind of song because it's the most fun. I think it's
It's just silly.
It's done at like the bar. It's almost like a sing along, like
It's a
type of
drinking song, yeah.
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 I was
Probably like the one part about the new Beauty and the live action Beauty and the Beast that I liked still.
the Gaston.
Yeah.
It was a fun scene in the live action. What's his name? He played LeFou and he voices Olaf.
Oh, Josh Gad.
Josh Gad. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job in that little scene.
I was speaking of songs in the opening song, I was really tipped off as to where this one took place.
Where?
Actually, many of them. They're
How are
talking
you
about
supposed to know?
constantly. We're in France in this
Ah,
one,
bonjour.
but I mean, again, that fits. I mean, that's
Canada?
that's.
Yeah, this is in
Quebec.
French Canada.
I mean, again, based on this classic fairy tale. And I mean, and
La Belle
La Bête.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was strongly inspired by
Best.
the Cocteau movie as well. Like they took elements from that, like the whole thing about, I think all the like the castle being alive and stuff comes from that movie, which we've watched together. It's a great movie, but we don't have time to get into it. Yeah, it's it's French film, 1941 was it? I think it's a great movie. But they struggled. They were unsure how to adapt it. I think because in that movie, it really is strongly about like seeing beauty on the inside and like not judging someone by their horrendous appearance or whatever. And so in that one, the movie is more so, I think, about the beauty realizing that, which they kind of flipped it in here. And the story, and it seemed like the story they really came up with. And maybe this speaks to Nico, where you're saying it becomes more, I think it does become a little bit more about the boys having stories, where I feel like the Beast really, I like the cast is really strong, but the Beast, he's the one you really watch kind of grow and change.
Yeah, I mean, the story is from Belle's perspective for the most part, but it takes place because of the Beast. So it's like...
It still definitely plays into that
story.
It plays strongly still into that, like, not judging someone by their appearance, because I like it sort of adds in this whole element of, like, the town and the people, like, loving Gaston and hating the Beast, like, upon just seeing the Beast, they want to kill it. You know what I mean? And just like, loving this guy who's so nasty. But
They also sing about Belle, and they're like, she's beautiful, but she's so weird.
I wish you would stop reading. What a freak. Similar to Ariel, like Belle is like a really compelling character in the beginning. Like, again, she's like reading these tales. She knows what she wants. She's like, I don't need the Prince Charming, and I think ultimately
she wants to get out of this little town.
Yeah. And I like
quiet village.
Ugh, it's provincial. Ugh. But I like that she does fall in love. She falls in love with the Beast. Like, it's not even really like it is about like she doesn't reject him because he's ugly ever. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, and I like that aspect of it. I actually think maybe it gives her maybe slightly less of an arc, but I think like it was a nice twist on the story. I think it's sort of a movie about like two dudes like fighting for a woman's affection.
I've actually really never thought about this movie being about her picking between two guys, because let's be real, she would never pick Gaston.
That's another thing that's fun too, is like it's clearly like she is sort of, I feel like we're like understanding the movie through her, right? Like,
oh, totally.
I feel like the movie's that on paper, but when you actually see it, it's like it's not really that.
He's fighting for her affection, kind of.
He assumes he's already got it.
Yeah.
He's just like pumping his guns, and he's like, "Hey, aren't I hot?" And she's like, "I don't care, Gaston. Goodbye."
I was thinking about too, like the prince before he's turned into a beast. He's like the like classy, rich version of Gaston.
I mean,
he's
sure,
like vain and just doesn't care about others.
Yeah, and he judges the witch by her appearance.
Yeah.
But psych, she's hot. I like it's like in both the movies. It's like if I'm trying to track who's beautiful on the outside but ugly on the inside, or like Ursula, she's now hot but she's still like evil. You know, at that one part where,
It's true.
I mean, she's hot the whole movie, but you know what I mean, where they're like, she's
Let's be
hot
real.
now. And then this, it's like there's a witch who's hot, who's ugly, but she's actually hot, but she's evil, maybe. And then
I think she's good.
she's good.
I think the witch is good. It's
she's
a
going-
curse, but it's a good curse.
Teaching.
She's going
teaching a
around
lesson.
giving people like self-motivating like curses, you know, to like
Yeah, she's like a door-to-door self-motivation coach that happens to be a witch that can curse you for eternity.
Here's a rose. Fall in love before it dies.
right, yeah.
Is an like unknown amount of time.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah,
We don't know how long that is because it's a magical rose.
From the production standpoint, we talked about like the evolution of the animation. I found this was really interesting. I started watching like this series about the history of computers' use in animation. That was really interesting. But for this movie, this one, they had some computer elements in Black Cauldron and Little Mermaid, but this movie, they went all out. Like they had this whole CG animated scene that it looks sick to this day. It looks amazing. The ballroom scene, we all love it.
Mhm.
The song is playing too, which helps. And that's the part where I really love the blending of elements, because you've got this big model, they're going around, but then you've got the sort of 2D animation, that dance they're doing. I think that's a reused animation actually from one old
I think
movie, like Sleeping Beauty.
It's
or
actually the end.
Cinderella, maybe?
Dance. It's not this. They like dance again at the end,
Yeah,
and that's the
Mhm.
the reused.
that's the reused one. Okay,
Sleeping Beauty. I think. Yeah.
but
I think it is the end of Cinderella.
nonetheless, I love that
Anyways.
fusion of those sort of elements. And one sorry, go ahead, Nico.
Can I urge everybody who has access, if you have Disney Plus or whatever, go just watch this scene because is it Baxter, James Baxter, is that his name?
James Baxter.
The Baxter dude. I don't know his name. The animator.
Oh,
The guy who actually animated this scene of Belle and the Beast dancing. Holy crap. It is in a 3D space and it is a 2D animation that does not, like, in my head as a child, it just looked so real it didn't matter. And now as
Yeah.
an adult looking at it, the way the like camera moves around them while they're dancing does not make sense. Like, I don't know how he animated that. It's incredible.
it's so awesome.
And
yeah.
I urge everyone to go just watch this scene and pay attention to the actual animation of just the Beauty and the Beast dancing. It is like, that is something that will just make you stop and be like, wow, humans are incredibly talented to be able to do something like that. Like, that is mind-blowingly cool.
Yeah,
it breaks my mind.
Yeah, it's just cool, like this era of people pushing, the limits on what can be done. I have a slight connection to Nintendo here, is that the hardware they did that scene on, the computers were made by Silicon Graphics, I guess it would be the term. They're not they don't exist anymore, but they were kind of a early powerhouse in sort of 3D like animation and stuff like that, and they actually provided hardware. They worked like alongside Nintendo, especially they produced some chips for like the N64. In fact, like I don't remember if it's a software. Someone who's more of a computer nerd would know this, but like they had a thing called MIPS, which is like what the rabbit in Mario 64 is named after. So
Oh, yeah.
yes, and the software they actually used was software that was developed by Pixar. So And then, that leads to a whole nother collaboration between Disney and them. So,
which they'll be acquired by Disney very soon.
But just it's impressive from a technical standpoint. One thing that I always loved was me and one of my old roommates had a copy of it on Laserdisc, but it was actually a copy. The movie actually premiered a month earlier than I said at the New York Film Festival, but what they brought with it was a work print that showed, like, some scenes were fully animated, some scenes were just storyboards, some were like half complete, and it was more meant to show off the process. And so I watched that once, like they put it out on Laserdisc, and it was like, it was such a fascinating thing to watch. And you see, like, I love seeing that, like all of the different like points that, like, like the collaborative aspect of it and all the work that went into it, all the different like types of skills, you know what I mean? Like drawing, obviously, like understanding like computers, like music, voice acting, singing, like all that stuff. Like, it's just
so much
blows
is
me
going
away.
into that. I remember having the Diamond Edition Blu-ray or something like that of Beauty and the Beast, and you could watch the production version
awesome.
on there. And I remember watching it and just being mind blown. This, like, again, like I said, this is one of my favorite movies from my childhood, and it is what, like, if you asked me when I was 10 years old what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have told you I want to be a Pixar animator. And it was because of movies like this that, like, inspired me to want to be an animator. Am I? Absolutely not. No, I'm not talented like that. I didn't put the time and energy into it. But like, movies like this make you just like stop and think, like, holy crap, that's incredible.
I get that when I, like, sometimes I'll hear a good song and it makes me want to go play guitar, like, it's just like,
exactly.
That's something that, like, sparks your creativity. This movie has it in almost every aspect. Another connection to our show, actually connection to our last episode, deep cast of great voice actors in this movie.
Big time.
Both movies, extremely talented cast, but the footstool in this movie was voiced by Frank Welker, who is a legendary voice actor. He did, for Pete's sake, he did Fred and Scooby-Doo, among many other things, but he voiced many of the characters, like 4 or 5 of the characters in Clay Fighter 63 1/3. And so
wait, he voiced the footstool?
He voiced the footstool. Look it up.
The footstool is a dog.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
just
made
the dog sounds?
Should I say?
Somebody has got to do it.
Footstool.
I know, I'm looking it up. You're right. It's a dog. I mean, he just makes, like, barking sounds.
But can you imagine, though, like, okay, whatever. I guess they got, like, Bill Hader, like, did BB-8 or something in Star Wars.
Him and
There's
what's
a
the
lot
other
of
guy?
Who does Ben Schwartz?
Schwartz, yeah, Ben Schwartz. I almost said Sonic.
Yeah, Sonic, yeah. But okay, they do that sometimes or whatever. Like, Daniel Craig was the stormtrooper, but it's like, I love it.
No reason. It's great though.
But this is like, they just got, like, a legit great voice actor to come in and do dog. Like, hell yeah, like, you got to do that. He brought the footstool to life. I guess one other thing I have, just in terms of, it was in fact the 3rd highest grossing movie of 1991. And the weekend it came out, this is another example thing I have going on. The weekend it came out, it was just behind Addams Family and Cape Fear. Can't argue with that. But the number 4 movie was Fievel Goes West. So another joint.
And let me tell you, I thought that was a Disney movie for, like, my entire childhood. Well, that's because it looks like a Disney movie.
Well, yeah,
and it's a great movie.
I thought all those were.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand as a kid. Like,
no.
I think I talked to some people where it's like they felt like it felt different. But to me, like, All Dogs Go to Heaven, like Anastasia or whatever, I was like, these are all, like, Disney movies, right? It speaks to their sort of, like, monopoly, I think, on the animation film
that's fair.
world, right? Like they
guess it wasn't until like DreamWorks kind of changing it up a
Right.
little bit where it was like really noticeable,
yeah,
different. But
and then I guess like Pixar, but then they became like, you know what I mean? Then they became kind of Disney
just
in a way, yeah.
picks up all their people.
So yeah, we can see they kind of bumped. Again, I don't know if it came out at the same time, but they bumped it that weekend for sure. And yeah, I think
I bet it was the same day.
I don't put much stock in the Oscars or whatever, but the fact that it got nominated for Best Picture, I think says a lot for sure.
They released on the same day.
I'm sure that was a Disney idea, of course.
Oh, Disney's doing that on purpose.
This makes me hate them more.
Everything about Beauty and the Beast is it's very cool. Belle has the best princess dress, period.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. Well, I was gonna just mention outfits and
more
in general,
fits.
but
Fit watch.
Please. We got fit check with McKenna. Over to McKenna for the fit check.
She's got her nice, white. It's like a white under dress with the blue apron-y kind of thing on top.
So cute.
Yeah, it's real cute. Simple, real cute though.
You can
I
meet Belle
believe-
in that outfit sometimes, like very rarely in the parks, and she'll just be carrying a little book. And she'll just be
Aw.
walking around like that. It's really
Aw.
cute, actually. Yeah.
She's got the green dress, which I think is the dress she's wearing when Beast shows her the library, which is an awesome moment because it's like she's checked out every book in the library in her little town, and now she's got this library that holds more books than she could read in her lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Which was amazing to me as a bookworm kid.
Yeah, some of those shelves are too damn high, though.
I was like, oh, I want to be there.
That's what made me feel like I feel like these probably like were even more marketable towards like young girls, even though like the older movies were in a lot of ways too, in that like it felt more like we were talking about with Ariel, like they feel more relatable. Right, like, and so I think, like, yeah, being, like, there's probably, like, they probably realized that, too, like, at the time, there were, like, a lot of, like, young girls who don't want to just be pandered to, right, like, they want to, like, they have interests, you know what I mean, so,
Yeah.
like, I think, just the fact that she's, like, even reading these old fairy tales and, like, commenting on them, it's like, oh, she's like a person with interests, and like she thinks, like you can, it's not
She's
sleeping.
got a brain.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the fit check.
That's a dangerous pastime thing.
She's got the red or maroon-ish
Her
dress.
winter look.
Her winter look. That she's also got the like cloak, the fur-lined cloak.
Oh, it's so cute.
Love
Didn't
it.
talk about the cloak. We were talking about cloaks, and Eric has a cloak in The Little Mermaid, and we were like,
Oh, that's right.
we gotta bring back cloaks.
Yeah, Beast has a
And
good cloak too.
I
There's a
felt-
cape.
Right, she has one when she's like running away. Right? Is
Yeah,
that
she's
right?
got like, it's just like a dark grayish blue
That's
cloak
when
that
like
she's got
her
during the storm.
her hair falls out of the
Oh,
ponytail,
yeah.
and it's just like where I'm like, ooh.
She's
Yeah.
like a person.
I'm like, whoa.
she's not a perfect
Look
little
at that
princess.
hair.
She's a person.
Mm.
And then of course we got the gold ball gown that looks just like so magical,
It
and
does.
everything. Beast has got his blue coat, and everything in the ballroom just matches with them. There's like gold accents in there. There's the gold chandelier. The curtains are blue.
Yeah, they got the blue
And it
curtains.
just
It matches
looks
them perfectly.
really well.
Mhm.
And they ruined it in the live action.
We have to avoid at all costs. We can't even. I didn't even want to say the word Stockholm syndrome. I know that's like a thing. I don't even talk about it.
I think that argument is BS. I don't want to talk about it.
It's probably funny at some point, and it's gotten old. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and then she's got the wedding dress. She wear a wedding dress. Does that happen?
I don't think
They
so.
don't
Does she?
marry.
Is there another
It just kind of
dress?
ends with
There
the
is
dance,
in
right?
the live action. Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Does she?
Oh, stop thinking about freaking Emma Watson. Okay. There
Why
are
did I think
well,
there
there's
was another-
sequels. But I think for the most part, she wears really similar outfits in the sequels.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, good fits all around. I'd say like the Beast even look good. Yeah, there's I don't know, every time we talk about the fits, it just makes me think of like especially the Beast looking all dressed up. A lot of horny stuff in this
makeover.
movie too.
Oh, big time.
With
The look that
Lumiere.
the prince gives after he turns back into a human and he looks back at the camera and he's like, oh.
Yeah, yep. That
And Belle's like, who are you?
yeah, he comes out. He's like a
you've
model.
got the same eyes.
Yes, the eye. Oh, his eyes. They
That's the
drew
thing,
some.
it's just focusing on the eyes, yeah.
I mean, Gaston. There's a lot of he's got very
Those neck muscles.
yeah. They're definitely accentuating a lot of things like that. I mean, the freaking dust broom.
Oh yeah.
I
Lumiere
read,
and
like,
what
when-
is her name? I don't remember.
Does she have a name? I don't.
I think she does.
She definitely does.
Oh,
I
she's
think
just a
what
feather
it is,
duster.
right? Oh. Does she have a name? Oh, okay.
No, she
She
doesn't.
doesn't have a name
Oh.
in any of them? Does she have a name in the...
Fifi?
I'm sure eventually, yeah, Fifi. That sounds right.
Oh, in the live action they call her Plumette. But I don't think that's right.
Okay,
I-
that's wrong. I don't like it.
Yeah, there's a scene when the mob is attacking, where she's kind of having her feathers plucked out, and it's like, oh,
That's weird.
Yeah,
that's-
it's a little gross.
I do like.
I don't think I like that registered to me when I was younger, but now I was like, oh, okay.
On a more positive note with that, it is fun, like how they decide to, like, incorporate, like how they work. That like it doesn't all like fully like have to make sense. You know what I mean? And that's something they talked about in the making of, where it's like this is like a a magic enchanted castle. So like like Lumiere, they're having him do like the dances during Be Our Guest, and it's like they can kind of stretch him and have him move however, or like just they were like, how come everything comes to life? Are they all like souls? They were like look, it's a magic castle, like don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But I love that aspect of it. Though one thing in the making of that they said was there's a scene where she jumps down from a ledge, and they were like, something felt wrong about her jumping from that high, so they put a little pillow in the scene for her to fall on. That serves no purpose, but they're like, we have to do it.
I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Just like, oh, that
Or
thing's
she'll
gonna
end up like
shatter.
Chip. And that, that makes me question. Chip's name is Chip, and he has a chip, but he was a child.
All of them are like this. It's like, what the hell?
No, like does that mean the kid's name was Chip, and then he got that chip in him, or like what physical changes happened to this child's body after the teacup got a chip in it? I'm so curious.
I know. It's so fun to think about, but then that's what causes people to go down the road of like,
right?
Is it Stockholm syndrome or whatever, But
it's a talking teacup.
there are so many fun implications though, where she goes like, go with your brothers or whatever, and it's like there's other teacup children and you don't talk to them.
There's so
teacup babies.
You don't talk to those kids. Where are they?
Yeah.
Or like the fact that if you ever think of this, the cook got turned into a stove, but there's only one stove in the castle. Does that mean they didn't have a stove until the kitchen worker turned into the stove?
Maybe the witch like repossessed all of the stuff. Maybe it was on loan. Maybe the witch was
I don't know.
sent from another kingdom to like go get the stuff.
That's how she makes money. She
Yes.
sells the stuff after the people become things.
Wow. Well, just in terms
A
of,
Ponzi scheme.
I want to throw in final video game check for this one because we talked about a little bit the other ones. I was looking. We watched some of. There was a year after there were 2 Genesis games, Belle's Quest and Roar of the Beast. You can guess one you plays Belle, one you plays the Beast. It looked kind of fun, kind of
Interesting.
cheesy looking. It looked like they should have just made it one game. I don't know. I guess I don't know the full details on the production of those. But 2 years after it came out, 1994, they co-released a Beauty and the Beast game for NES and Super Nintendo, which kind of had a similar thing. But obviously, like the NES game was in 1994. I feel like looking at it, it was kind of way out. It seemed way outclassed by the SNES version. In fact, the SNES version looked really fun. It was like you play as the Beast, and it's like a platformer game, and like stuff. I don't know why stuff in the castle is attacking you, but you're fighting off like inanimate objects and stuff, and it had the music in there and everything, and it looked like in a similar vein to those like Lion King, Aladdin ones people are more fond of, like in vibe.
Yeah.
So we didn't get a chance to play those, but maybe someday we'll do like a Disney game roundup. Who knows? Anything else, Nico? Anything else you want to say about Beauty and the Beast before we?
I do. So we were looking into this a little bit when we were watching The Little Mermaid. So Ursula dies, presumably.
Oh, sure.
She dies, and then at the end of this one, Gaston gets pushed off the top of the castle and into darkness, which you can only assume he could not survive that. Even a man that eats how many dozen eggs every day? I don't know, like 12.
Is he in the sequels, McKenna?
He's dead.
One of
He's
them
dead,
is like the one I'm familiar with
it's not
is
even a
it's like
sequel.
what do you call it? A midquel? I don't know.
A midquel. It takes place during the montage,
Yeah.
basically, in the winter
It's
time.
kind of wild.
Well, they both take place during the winter time, don't they?
I haven't seen
Oh,
I've seen
That
the
was
Enchanted
magical.
Christmas winter.
She has a
Christmas?
beautiful dress in that one too.
sorry.
It's like yellow
Also,
underneath.
that was a crucial bonus level in the NES and SNES games where she throws snowballs at you and you have to catch them. Which is not...
That's kind of
that's not,
cute.
it is cute, yeah.
Which one had the stained glass?
Oh, they all had various stained glass, which was cool.
Like there was one where you're placing stained glass.
Yes. I
Ooh.
think that was Roar of the Beast. It was like a puzzle, you had to put it together. And in fact, both the one thing, the Genesis version, the Genesis game, Belle's Quest had going for it was there was a level and then the final 2 levels where you dance with the Beast and then the Prince, and you're in the room and you're just like spinning around the room picking up hearts.
I think it's rose petals.
Or yeah,
right?
rose petals. There's a mini game in the SNES one where rose petals are falling. You have to capture them too. Very like creative. Very like you'd see games do that type of thing now. Like to like I don't know, like be a little bit more artistic. At the time they were just trying to adapt this game.
I'm looking this up. I definitely played the SNES version of the Beauty and the Beast game because I remember holding that cartridge in my hand.
Okay, nice.
Interesting. I don't remember the game very well.
It looked cool. I like legit. I
holding
want to
that.
play it. We have to get a reliable way to like play SNES, so we can cover more of that.
This holiday season, share the fun, the magic, and the music of an entertainment event you'll never forget. Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
Well, it's a strong start for Disney's Renaissance. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna do more, and hopefully, Nico, you will come back to join us. The next one I would like to talk about, it would be Aladdin and Lion King.
I'm in.
Which those are the big, like, those are probably the, like I said, I think I saw those in theaters, but I was like a baby, you know what I mean?
Whoa, you're old.
Or a toddler, I guess, maybe. How's a toddler?
Like
Too
2
young.
to
I was a toddler when those, I was a toddler, yeah.
You were a toddler.
Those are like, we'll get into it more, but those were big, obviously, but,
I sure liked watching Aladdin.
yeah, we'll have to have I trying to think of like I keep trying to think of like appropriate ways to bring it up in each episode, but it's like you gotta have like a horny check almost in these, which feels weird to say about the kids movies, but at that age, like, even just seeing like people like kiss and hold hands even was like crazy when you're a kid, you know.
Yeah.
Like watching these, or like you're just like even like the smallest suggestion of like sexuality, like as a kid you're like, whoa, what's going on, you know?
Yeah. Like, I don't get it.
Why does the King Triton intimidate me so much?
Why is Nala making those eyes at me, and it's making me feel things? What do I do?
Can you feel? It's like, oh my god. All right, let's get
pretty hard on there.
We got to get out of here.
I'm sure
right.
the listeners
All
are
right.
excited for that episode.
Nico, do you wanna plug anything before we go?
I am not doing anything online right now. If you like shiny hunting Pokemon, that's what I do. I don't post about it anywhere, and I don't stream right now. But
You did just
Nico Tendo 64 is me.
It's a little. It'll be a little old by the time it comes out. Not old, but you did finish up your Pikmin Let's Play.
I did. Yeah, I'm considering doing another YouTube Let's Play. I did a Pikmin Let's Play on YouTube that was fun. I really liked it. I'm thinking of doing Outer Wilds.
Ooh.
But yeah, follow me on YouTube. Twitter is not a thing that I use anymore.
Good.
So-
Good. It's bad to look
I don't
at.
know. Yeah, I deleted it off my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me, Nico Tendo 64.
And, you know, if you go to that YouTube, that's a good way to listen to our music from the show, from our our main
I
theme.
really like your guys' theme song.
So, some bozo wrote that. I don't know.
Some weirdo.
McKenna, we got our links below. We want to urge anyone to check out anything. Just check out all our stuff.
Yeah.
McKenna's Patreon.
McKenna's Patreon, yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
We plugged that a little
Doing
bit.
fun stuff there.
We want to have a website. We want to make a website, but we want to make like a GeoCities style website. So
Oh my god.
hopefully by the time that comes out, we'll have the throwback mid-90s website.
We're
ready for
bringing
you.
back websites.
Yeah, if everything else falls apart from the podcast, like say our other social media websites no longer exist, at very least I want to have a website. Okay, let's go. Let's get out of here. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye.
Bye.
As always, we want to give a special shout out to our $5 Millennium Star tier patrons. Thank you, Darren Hupke, Infection Form, Jeremy Aber, Kiefer, Nico Sylvian, Paul aka Quaid, and Underlined V. Thank you so much for your support, and if you are looking to support the show, you can find us over on patreon.com/flashback64.